Part 52. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 511. Xianxia felt that the opportunity inside had been obtained by Xianxia, and she had also taken away other things. The trap aimed at her had also failed. There should be no restrictions at all. There was only an empty cave. It was quite suitable to tidy it up. For retreat. Mu Changling nodded when he heard this. That's fine. From the beginning to the end, neither Mu Changling nor Deng Changs asked her what she had experienced inside or what opportunities she had received. Since the opportunity is hers, it is hers. As long as she comes out well, there is no need to ask anything else. Mu Changling walked over and gave it a try. Sure enough, he was able to go in without any obstacles. Xianxia said, "Ancestor, it takes about a quarter of an hour to walk along the corridor. There is a large cave inside, which is suitable for retreat." Hearing this, Mu Changling didn't go inside anymore, just make sure he could get in. Let someone come over tomorrow to clean it up, and then set up a spirit gathering array, which is suitable for disciples who want to retreat for a long time. The three of them walked down the mountain. Chi Hao heard the sound of Deng Chang's laughing before, and his eyes lit up. It must be the master who came out. He immediately quit practicing and ran out, but did not go to the mountain. Instead, he stood at the gate of the fence and watched their return. As soon as she saw Xianxia figure, she immediately ran over, stood in front of her and said with bright eyes, "Master, you're out." The joy in his tone was beyond words. Xianxia smiled and said, "It came out and made you worried." Chi Hao blinked, "I know Master will definitely come out, don't worry." Xianxia smiled, not only heartily, but her eyes did not leave her, but she did not reveal that the young apprentice was also a man, and he also wanted to save face. Ming Li stayed here to accompany Chi Hao these days. Seeing that everyone was back, he hurried to make tea and bring it over. Then he left here automatically and went back, leaving space for them. The four of them sat in front of the stone table. Xianxia took the initiative to explain the situation inside. However, she did not mention the danger of her soul being taken away. She was not prepared to talk about the memories of her previous life. She simply asked Master, and there is no need for the ancestors to worry. Therefore, she only talked about the spiritual energy and formation inside. She did not say that Xianxia absorbed the spiritual energy, but that she absorbed it herself and advanced to the first level. Then she broke the formation and got the 9-layer lotus platform. She took out the 9-layer lotus platform and gave it to they watched. Mu Changling himself is a very high-level weapon refiner. This is the first time he has seen such a high-level weapon. He said curiously, "This should be refined. What kind of material is it made of? Why haven't I seen it before? There are still such weapon refining materials in this world. How high is the level of this weapon refining master?" Xianxia's apricot eyes flashed. "Look, this is a normal reaction." She was sure that Jija Kong had hidden something from her, and she couldn't figure out the reason. She was quite sure that Jija Hong was doing her best before, but now she is not sure either. Once there is doubt in the relationship, it will take root and sprout. If they don't pull it out completely, their relationship will not go further, but will retreat to the beginning, which may not be as good as it was at the beginning. After all, when they first met, although Xianxia wanted to break off her engagement with Jija Hong, she at least felt that Jija Hong was a gentleman who kept his word. "Ancestor, I have a friend waiting for me in the town at the foot of the mountain. I will go down the mountain tomorrow and tell him that I will stay on the mountain for a few days. Let him go to Yaoguang City first without waiting for me." Xianxia took a sip. At the corner of his lower lip, he decided to send Jija Hong down the mountain first. As for what he didn't want to say, he wouldn't ask. In this way, you can also remind yourself that no matter what the situation, you should never become dependent on anyone. The only thing you can always rely on is your own strength and wisdom. As for the relationship between them, she needs to calm down and think about it. She doesn't want to make things worse when things are still unclear. After all, she also cherishes her relationship with Jijuzhong. Between monks, it is not easy to find partners who can advance together hand in hand, especially those with equally strong talents like them. Mu Changling and Deng Changs were both looking at the 9-story lotus platform, but they didn't notice any changes in her mood. Mu Changling replied without even raising her head, "Go ahead and let Mingli accompany you down the mountain." Yan Xianglou refused, "Don't bother Mingli. I can go by myself and come back soon." She wanted to send Jijuzhong out, and Mingli would follow her. She would have a chance to release Jijuzhong. "Okay, there is a barrier at the bottom of the mountain. You can enter and exit freely with this." Mu Changling did not insist and threw her an emerald green jade token with an aura flowing on it, which was the same as the aura on Mu Changling's body. When she and Chi Hao came up the mountain, it was Mu Changling who opened the barrier and let them in. Yu Xianglou caught the jade token and put it away. Jijuzhong could hear them in their conversation space. When he heard that Yan Xianglou was going down the mountain tomorrow, his eyes darkened. Was Luo so anxious to let herself go? She must have seen something, or perhaps knew something about her past life. She began to distance herself from him, which meant that his position in her heart had declined. This was not what he wanted. Although he needs time to figure everything out, he doesn't want to cause any misunderstanding between himself and Luo. Suddenly, he felt that he was confused. The previous life was the previous life, and this life was this life. Although they were all lucky enough to remember the memories of the previous life, they must not let the events of the previous life affect their current life. Having this life means that they both failed in the last life, so they are so persistent in being together in this life, so that they can meet and fall in love in this life. Perhaps meeting and falling in love again in this life was something they paid a price for, so how could they not cherish it? Thinking of this, Jijuzhong's eyes suddenly lit up, and he knew what he should do. After his mind was clear, he felt relaxed all over. I don't worry about Luo's current attitude towards her anymore. We will discuss everything when we meet tomorrow. After all, it cannot be explained clearly in 1 or 2 sentences. The 4 of them did not chat for too long, but it was rare for Mu Changling to find something he was interested in, so Yuan Xianglou left the 9-story lotus platform to Mu Changling to study. Mu Changling has lived for more than 3,000 years and has seen almost everything in the mainland. There are very few things that can arouse his interest. The appearance of the 9-layer lotus platform made his whole body come alive, as if he had regained the feeling he had when he first learned to refine weapons. Deng Chang's was not a weapon refiner, but he was not interested in it. He told Yan Xianglou not to rush to practice and have a good night's rest, and he went back to practice. Yan Xianglou and Chi Hao returned upstairs and went back to their rooms. Yan Xianglou washed herself and went to sleep. Sleeping did not affect her practice. She lay on the bed with her eyes closed, still thinking about the information she had obtained in the past few days. I thought I was tired, so I fell asleep. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 512. The body is surrounded by spiritual energy, and traces of spiritual energy are constantly penetrating into Yan Xianglou's body and flowing towards the Danshan. She is used to practicing this way. In the space, Jijuzhong was also sitting cross-legged practicing by the spiritual spring, next to Haituanzi. The aura in the Pangu space itself is very rich. Jijuzhong discovered that Haituanzi also emitted aura while digesting it. The place where Haituanzi was located, coupled with the aura of the spiritual spring, became the place with the richest aura in the space. He chose to practice here. Yan Xianglou didn't sleep well that night and had messy dreams. It was her 2 different lives in this life, and the experience of living in that golden palace. It was so messy that she couldn't tell who was living there. She woke up early in the morning, sat up, and rubbed her temples. No matter how rational she was, it still affected her and made her confused. This is the first time I slept all night without getting any rest, so I just got up. After Xianxia washed up, she left the small courtyard and walked down the mountain. I told my ancestors and master last night that there is no need to say hello in the morning. There was no Qihao this time, so she didn't have to walk down the mountain step by step. She rose into the air and flew directly down the mountain road. At the foot of the mountain, she took out the jade token given to her by her ancestors and successfully walked out of the barrier at the foot of the mountain. Putting away the jade token, Xianxia flew straight to Yukong, a town 30 miles away. When she arrived outside the town, she stopped. Xuanhuan came out of the space without her calling. Xianxia looked at him with a complicated mood and was speechless for a while. When the two met for the first time after her return, Xuanhuan was actually very kind to her. Although she was bullied a lot in this life because of her reputation as his fiancée, she deliberately tolerated it. After all, Panguihuashi didn't know how to pass the first level. Other than being tricked and almost killed in the royal training ground, she was actually only verbally attacked before. Although Xuanhuan's reputation as fiancée brought her harm and danger, she protected her in disguise for several years after her parents left. Precisely because they were wary of Xuanhuan's strength and did not know what he was thinking, those who coveted the position of regent princess, everyone just talks, no one actually takes action. When they first met, he didn't give Xuanhuan face, so he didn't do anything to him, but happily agreed to break off the engagement. Later on, Xuanhuan was embarrassed every time he met, and the two of them interacted more and more. They got to know each other little by little. Later, they left the Tianqian continent together and came to the higher continent, and their relationship became better and better. She once thought that they would spend their whole lives like this, and she never thought that one day she would doubt whether their relationship would come to an end. Xuanhuan sighed, looked back in the direction of Xianxia sect, and pulled her into the space again. They needed to talk, and there was no better place than in space. Luo, let's talk. Xuanhuan pulled her to sit down by the edge of the Lingquan pond, holding her hand without letting go, as if he was worried that she would run away. What are you talking about? Xianxia was a little surprised and glanced at his hand that was holding her tightly. Was he nervous? Xuanhuan's phoenix eyes fell on her face and met her eyes. Luo, let me apologize to you first. Oh, Xianxia responded lightly. Now that I think about it, I apologize to her. What is the apology for? Hiding something from her? She doesn't think this matter is very important now, and it doesn't matter whether she apologizes or not. Xuanhuan felt helpless. He knew that Luo had a knot in his heart. The knot was not small, and it was all his fault. He knew what she hated the most, but he still made such a mistake. But he didn't expect that he would experience it for so long. Xuanhuan knew very well that if she didn't untie the knot in her heart today, she might not be able to untie it in the future. I shouldn't have concealed the fact that you were going to participate in the continental competition because I didn't want to worry you. At that time, my cultivation level was too low and I was just qualified to register. I didn't know what level I could improve to before the competition started. You will always be worried after I tell you, just thinking that I will tell you after I gain strength after training, but I did not expect that you will be sad after hiding it from you. Xianxia's apricot eyes flickered a few times, but she did not answer his words. Xuanhuan continued, I can understand Luo's unwillingness to forgive me, but I must explain clearly. I don't want this incident to affect our relationship, let alone make our hearts go further apart. Xianxia still didn't answer the call. The experience these days made her determined not to rely on anyone, even though she knew very well that Xuanhuan's apology was sincere and he indeed cherished the relationship between the two of them. Her lack of response does not mean that she does not cherish the relationship between the two of them. No one knows how much she longs for a relationship that she can trust and rely on wholeheartedly. But it turns out that the feelings between people are not that firm. She didn't know what the final outcome was for herself and Ji Kong in the previous life, but judging from what the fifth senior brother did, it must have been bad. So, why does she believe that their relationship will have a good ending in this life? Seeing that she remained silent, Ji Hong continued, after you left the space was cut off from the outside world. At that moment, I was worried about you and fell into a coma. I was in a coma for several days. In the coma, after experiencing another life, it should be the memory of my previous life, but it is not complete. In my memory, Luoluo is a very important person, and I have also affected Luoluo's life. I don't have the memory of our final ending, so I don't know how we fell. In my memory, I only met your master once. He said that I was your disaster, and I lost my temper because of that. I said that I loved you so much. You are willing to protect you with my life, how could it be your disaster? Yan Xiangleo was stunned. She didn't expect Ji Hong to say this to her. Did her master in the previous life try to stop her relationship with Ji Hong? Your master only said 2 words when he saw my reaction. Ji Hong looked at her with a somewhat helpless and sad tone. Yan Xiangleo finally spoke, fate. Ji Hong was stunned. Luoluo also has memories of past lives. Yan Xiangleo shook her head, no, I guess. Ji Hong's eyes narrowed, then why was the guess so accurate? Yan Xiangleo explained, although I have not recovered the memory of my previous life, I have seen the spiritual photos left by the 3 senior brothers in my previous life. Although they cannot say many things due to the rules of heaven, they can also learn from them. There are some things they can say and some information gained from their reactions. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 513. Chapter 513 Untying the Heart Knot. Ji Kong narrowed his eyes. He didn't know what Luoluo's senior brothers had said to her, which made her accurately judge the words of the master in her previous life. He continued to listen without interrupting her. Yan Xiangleo continued, this time, my soul was pulled out of my body by the enemy in my previous life. I saw some familiar scenes in a palace made of gold. But I didn't think of anything. And finally I had some memories in the bedroom where I lived, but they were all about the scenes of living in that bedroom. There was a man who stayed with me all the time, and he called me Heavenly Master. Therefore, I know that I am. My identity in my previous life was a Heavenly Master, so my master must also be a Heavenly Master. Heavenly Masters can predict the future, and a person's fate must be very clear in the eyes of Heavenly Masters. And it's an unsolvable knot. Speaking of this, Yan Xiangleo paused for a moment, raised her eyes to look at Ji Hong, and then said, since Master said that you are my calamity, then my calamity should be the calamity of love. Since ancient times, the calamity of love has been more difficult than the calamity of death. The calamity of death will be broken as long as we survive the life and death crisis, but there is only one way to break the calamity of love, which is to love each other as strong as heaven and earth, but where can such feelings exist in this world? Ji Hong's heart was severely shaken. Didn't he withstand the test in the previous life? Although he didn't believe that he would be such a person, he could guess from Luoluo's tone that this was what she was thinking. She felt that in the previous life, they had not been able to withstand the test and had not survived this love disaster. Luoluo, don't you believe that our relationship in the last life was as strong as heaven and earth? Ji Hong asked. The experience of the past few days has made him very clear that any doubts in his heart must be expressed and clarified, Otherwise the misunderstanding between the two of them will become deeper and deeper. Yan Xiangluo shook her head. I don't think my vision in the last life was bad. Her words made Ji Zhikong feel relieved. But what Yan Xiangluo said next made his heart sink again. However, when we live in the world, we don't just have one emotion, there are many emotions that we cannot refuse. When we are born as human beings, we must have some responsibilities that cannot be shied away from. The consciousness of the three brothers all mentioned one thing, that is what we failed to accomplish in the last life. My master and brothers paid the price of disappearing forever. I am the only one who has been reincarnated. I still don't know what this mission is, but I know it very well. Even if I know, I can't refuse. I am the only one in this life, and they are gone. Yan Xiangluo's tone was sad and helpless. What she said was right. Although her memory has not been restored yet, it shows that the master and senior brothers can take such pains to leave a spirit to remind her and hand over everything they have to her at the right time. This matter is not a small matter for one person or one sect, it is probably a major matter for the entire continent. Can she refuse because of personal matters? Even if she is not a righteous person, she knows that she cannot refuse. Ji Zhikong's phoenix eyes flashed with a dark light. In the memory I recovered, you have a very high status. The specific status is very vague, but knowing what mission you shoulder, it is difficult to complete it, even for me. It can't be said that it is restricted by the rules of heaven. Yan Xiangluo nodded. Tell me, if I have to choose between you and completing this task, what should I choose? Ji Zhikong was stunned. He didn't expect that Yan Xiangluo would be so rational and ask such sharp questions. How should he answer? Should she choose him? Her conscience will never get over it. That is something that her master and brothers did not even give up their lives to accomplish. If she gives up on him, even if she completes the task, she will not be happy in this life. He still has this confidence. But how could I be willing to let her make such a choice one day? I will accompany you to complete it, life and death together, Ji Zhikong said firmly. Since she can't refuse, he will go with her to complete this matter. Even if he fails, the worst he can do is die with her. Yan Xiangluo sighed. I believe what you say now is sincere, but we haven't fully recovered the memory of the previous life. How can you guarantee that you don't want to do anything? How do you know what you and I want to do? Will there be a conflict? After all, we all failed in the last life. This is obvious. Ji Zhikong looked at her. Now Yan Xiangluo was just like him before, getting into the horns. Luoluo, haven't you ever thought about why we met and fell in love again in this life? Ji Zhikong asked. Yan Xiangluo's eyes paused, not knowing why he changed the subject. What do you think? Ji Zhikong smiled and said, I think it was the wish we made at the last moment of our last life, so we can meet, know each other, and fall in love again in this life. The love crisis does not mean that we will not survive it if we lose our lives. I would rather I believe that we worked hand in hand and did not accomplish what you wanted to do even at the cost of our lives, so we have this life. Ji Zhikong is very confident in himself. Even though he still doesn't have all the memories of his previous life, the only memory he has not betrayed his relationship with Luoluo. He believes it won't happen in the end. Yan Xiangluo's heart was shaken. Yes, why was she so pessimistic? What Ji Zhikong said was very possible. She didn't believe that her vision in her previous life was so bad. If Ji Zhikong said so, it was very possible. It is indeed possible. Yan Xiangluo did not deny it. Ji Zhikong breathed a sigh of relief and said in a sincere tone, so, if we can meet again, we must cherish each other. I shouldn't hide from you about signing up for the continental competition. Although the starting point is not to make you worry, the result is that you said. This will never happen again. Yan Xiangluo felt that she seemed a little stingy. Even if they love each other, they are still two people who have their own things to do. How can they tell each other everything? What is the attraction of two people who live like one person and have no privacy at all? Xuanhuan continued, however, we can't always be together anytime, anywhere. There should be some things that we need to make decisions without discussing. Such things are inevitable, but I will do it as soon as we meet. Tell you, I hope Luoluo can give me a chance to explain. Luoluo smiled, am I that unreasonable? Xuanhuan felt relieved when he saw Luoluo smiling. He knew that the knot in Luoluo's heart had been completely relieved by him. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 514. That's not true. It's just that things happened. Luoluo didn't want to ask me frankly. She thought to herself, then closed her heart little by little and pushed me away. In fact, I would rather Luoluo tell me get rid of your temper and ask me why, so that I can know what I did wrong and how to correct it. Luoluo was a little surprised. Okay, I will ask you if I have any doubts in the future, but you don't have to tell me everything. We all have our own things to do, as long as our hearts are together. Xuanhuan finally loosened his hold on her hand, pulled her into his arms, and held her tightly. Luoluo, you have to believe me. In my heart, nothing is more important than you. I work hard to be strong, just for I can protect you forever. Okay, I believe you, Luoluo responded. Now she is willing to believe Xuanhuan, but in the future, it depends on how far they can go. No matter how affectionate the oath is, it must be able to withstand the washing and beating of time. He raised his head from Xuanhuan's arms and said, although I believe you, I have learned one thing these past few days. Belief and dependence are not the same thing. I can believe you, but I will not rely on you again in the future. The road ahead is very bumpy. It's useless if one person is strong, both of us must be strong enough. Luoluo's words were telling Xuanhuan that she would no longer rely on him in the future, but it did not mean that she did not trust him. He wanted to be strong to protect her, and she also wanted to be strong to complete what her master and senior brothers had not accomplished. Only by fulfilling the wishes of the previous life can we live a good life in this life. When you can't help yourself, no matter how good you think, it's useless. Xuanhuan understood what she meant. Although he wanted Luoluo to rely on him, he also knew in his heart that Luoluo was not an ordinary girl. She had a heavy burden on her. He can't stay by her side all the time. Just like this time, the space is isolated. He can't know what danger Luoluo encounters, so how can he help her? Therefore, it is important for her to become strong. She is less worried about her safety when he is away. I understand, Xuanhuan said dully. Then he asked again, is it dangerous for your soul to be pulled out this time? Well, my soul was almost destroyed, Luoluo said matter-of-factly. Xuanhuan's arms holding her suddenly tightened. It turned out that this time he almost lost her forever. Luoluo said quickly, but he forgot that although his cultivation level is not as good as his, he still has a soul body, but the power of controlling the soul is not limited by the body. If he wants to destroy my soul, how could I let him go like this? Although the opponent is just a clone, I used the bit of his soul to manipulate his body. His soul will be paralyzed for a long time, ranging from 1 to 2 years to 3 to 5 years. Like a human being, it should be said that he is not as good as an ordinary person and can only spend time in bed. Moreover, even if the paralysis disappears, his soul will be greatly damaged, his talent will be reduced, and his cultivation will also be reduced. After hearing what she said, Xuanhuan knew that although she was speaking easily now, her life must have been hanging by a thread at that time. She was able to find a glimmer of hope in the trap set by the opponent, but she must have taken the risk of losing her soul. Well, Luoluo is very good. Xuanhuan didn't say anything about worrying about her, but praised her for being so good. Luoluo asked, Do you have any memories of me living in a golden palace? Hong shook his head. No, it should be said that I have never been to any place where Luoluo lives. However, I have seen a lot of Luoluo people, and some of them have appeared in my memory. Luoluo can draw that man's appearance. Let's see if it's the person who appears in the memory I've recovered now. Upon hearing this, Luo immediately took out a pen and paper and quickly sketched out the man's appearance. Hong looked at it and said, "Is it him?" His tone was obviously surprised. Luo immediately asked, "Do you have him in your memory?" Jijudian nodded. "He was your attendant in the previous life, his name is Chang Kun." Luo was stunned. Was that man really her attendant in her previous life? Why would you betray her? Is your name Chang Kun? Hong said again, "In the memory I have recovered now, there is no existence of the Golden Palace. It is most likely your residence that I cannot go to. It should be a place that no one in the world can go without being hungry. We have to wait. Only when the memory is fully recovered can we be sure." As soon as Hong finished speaking, Luo's eyes lit up. "Have I told you? I like where I live." Hong said, "I never said it, but every time you want to go back, you are not very happy." Xiang understood. This makes sense. Why, when my soul arrived there, although I saw many places that felt familiar, I didn't feel any joy at all. "Tell me more about us in your memory," Luo said. Hong said helplessly, "We can't say a lot. Luo just waits for her to recover her memory. I've already remembered so much. It's time for Luo to recover some memories soon. I think the memories we both recovered can be said to each other." Luo said distressedly, "Under what conditions can memory be restored?" Hong narrowed his eyes. He really hadn't thought about this. "Is it possible that it has something to do with the level of cultivation?" Hong asked. When mentioning the level of cultivation, Luo suddenly wilted. "You have to recover some memories of past lives because you are at the saint level. After I reach the saint level, the third level of the Pangu flower blooming technique will appear. When the time comes, I will advance. It will be very difficult. I don't know how to pass the third level. It seems that I am still far away from recovering my memory." After hearing what she said, Hong also remembered the exercises that Luo practiced. They also practiced ancient exercises. Why were the exercises she practiced so strenuous and had 3 levels? But any exercise has its own unique features. Perhaps after passing 3 levels, the effect will be visible. It's okay, isn't there still me? The first 2 levels have been passed, and we have all arrived at the high continent. We can definitely pass the 3 levels. The resources here are much more than those of the Tianqian continent, Hong said firmly. As he said this, he began to think about how to get her more treasures containing spiritual energy. It would be best to find a place with pure spiritual energy. Luo came out of his arms. "Don't think so much now. I will stay in Xianhuan sect for a few more days. I will go there 3 days before the start of the continental competition. You can go and prepare first. There is no need to leave anyone behind for me. I will use the teleportation pattern to go directly." Hong knew that if he wanted to participate in the competition, he had to go there and prepare. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 515. Chapter 515 Change of Approach. Hong also needs to know the strength of the contestants. After all, he is aiming for first place, and Xian and the others also have to compete and prepare in advance. "Okay, we'll see you in Yaoguang City." Although Hong is still worried about Luo's safety, he also knows that the little girl has many ways to protect herself. As long as she doesn't encounter a strong person above the level, she can still protect herself. She said she would go down the mountain and use the teleportation pattern to go directly to Yaoguang City. The location of Xianxia sect was not far from Yaoguang City. As long as he arranges his people in Yaoguang City, she will know as soon as she arrives. If Lu Yu wants to plot against her, he must first pass him. That's right, what Ji Zhikong is most worried about is Lu Yu. This man has never suffered any humiliation since he was a child. He is conceited and cannot bear failure. He will never be reconciled to failure. After Yan Xiangluo untied the knot in their hearts, both of them felt much more relaxed. Although the way they got along changed in the future, their hearts became closer. It also made the two of them understand that only two people with equal strength can go hand in hand. Ji Zhihong also understood something deeply. If you like someone, you don't have to hold that person tightly in your hands. Only by giving her space and time to become stronger can you truly love her. Yan Xiangluo also knew in her heart that the experiences of the past few days had made her truly emotionally mature. The two came out of the space and separated outside the town. Yan Xiangluo did not go into the town and went directly back to Xianyuan section. Ji Zhihong went to the town to find Xian and the others. Changfeng and Jin Yutang also arrived, one behind the other, and they had just arrived 2 or 3 days ago. Ji Zhihong arranged for a group of hidden guards who were not going to participate in the continental competition to do things, and then took Xian, Changfeng, and Jin Yutang to Yaoguang City. Xian and the others didn't ask why they didn't arrange for someone to protect Yan Xiangluo secretly. They never refuted Ji Zhihong's arrangement. Besides, they also know about Yan Xiangluo. That little girl has many tricks. If something happens, they still don't know who will protect whom. When the fragrance fell back, I felt relaxed. Although she knows that there are many obstacles on the road ahead and that unknown dangers may appear at any time, she has the pride of not being afraid of difficulties and obstacles at this time. She knows that this is the confidence that comes from having someone willing to walk side by side with her, and it is also the responsibility and calmness that comes with her emotional maturity. She was in a relaxed mood and was not in a hurry to return to the mountain. She walked briskly on the stone steps and admired the scenery on the way up the mountain. Time flies, and it is already late autumn. The climate of the eastern continent and the northern continent are similar. It is the coldest continent among several continents, and it is also the continent with the most distinct 4 seasons. But there are also geographical boundaries. Just like the northern continent, the colder it becomes toward the northeast. Xianyuan sect is located very close to the southern continent, so the climate is somewhat similar to that of the southern continent. Although it is late autumn, the climate is still very warm and the plants are still very lush, no different from those in summer. Xianyuan zone's choice here is not unreasonable. There are many spiritual plants growing on the mountains here, which is what Zetian said. After the space was isolated, Zetian and Yun Tuan came to an agreement, and they took turns to guard Yu Xiangluo. Yan Xiangluo couldn't refuse. Everyone looked at her with wet eyes, and her heart softened. Who told them to worry about themselves? Yan Xiangluo agreed. Today, Jishan is accompanying her. Jishan turned into a hairpin and stuck it firmly on the top of her head as always. Without reaching the mountains, Zetian seemed to have returned to his own territory, running around everywhere. Every time he came back, he would bring rare spiritual plants to Yan Xiangluo. Hong Kong flowers are planted directly in the space. The medicinal field in Pangu space is now divided into 2 parts. One part contains the medicinal materials she has collected in the past few years, and the ones Jishan helped her find. It is now a large area. There was also part of it that was given to her by the 5th senior brother. She planted the medicinal materials on the sacred mountain in a separate place. The 2 medicinal fields are very close to each other and grow very well, but it is obvious that the precious medicinal materials given to him by the 5th senior brother have stronger medicinal properties, because the medicinal fields are filled with a special aura that only spiritual plants possess. The effect of this kind of spiritual plant alchemy is absolutely different. but she would not use these medicinal materials easily. After all, these medicinal materials are not available in higher continents. If she takes them out and uses them, she will definitely cause unnecessary trouble. After walking for a long time, Xianxia felt that her mood had completely stabilized, so she rose into the air and went directly back to the sect. As for Jishan, she let him play in the mountains before going back. After all, Jishan had rarely had the opportunity to play like this since leaving Wanghai Forest. Especially after coming to the higher continent, they all practiced in space and rarely even came out. As soon as she arrived in front of the mountain gate, Xianxia met several people walking towards the mountain gate. Everyone who saw her bowed respectfully and said, "I've seen Master Yu." Xianxia smiled and nodded, passing by them. As soon as he walked into the mountain gate, he saw Ming Li waiting there. Obviously waiting for her to come back. "Uncle Master, you are back," Ming Li saluted. Xianxia nodded. "Are they going to participate in the continental competition?" Calculating the time, the disciples who want to participate in the competition should start their journey. Although it is not far from Yaoguang City, they still need to understand the situation in advance and make preparations. Ming Li responded with a smile, "Yes, I'm just going to exercise." It's indeed a good opportunity to exercise. Xianxia and Ming Li walked inside while talking. The disciples of the immortal sect they met on the road bowed to them respectfully, but few disciples walked around outside. Unless necessary, they would spend all their time practicing. The disciples you can see in Xuanhuan sect are all young disciples who have just joined the section. They need to go to the dining hall to eat and listen to their master's lectures, so they go out and walk around every day. Back to the place where our ancestor Mu Changling lived, there was no one at the stone table for tea in the yard. Yu Xiangluo didn't pay attention. She sensed that Qi Hao was practicing in the room and saw that it was almost noon, so she went to the kitchen to get busy. Seeing her going to the kitchen, Ming Li's eyes suddenly lit up. Today is another good day. After the aroma of the food wafted out, Mu Changling, Deng Chang's and snack food Qi Hao all came out of the room. Mu Changling has been studying in the room what material the 9-story lotus platform is made of and how it is made. Deng Chang's and Qi Hao are practicing in their respective rooms. But neither of them could resist the temptation of the aroma of the food cooked by Xianxia. He came out on his own initiative without even calling me. When Xianxia came out with the food, Qi Hao waited eagerly outside the kitchen door. When he saw her coming out, he immediately went in to help her with other dishes. Mu Changling and Deng Chang's were already sitting at the table waiting. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 516. Ming Li also went in to help serve the food. When he saw the food on the kitchen table, he knew that it was specially left for him, and he felt very happy. No fellow disciple in the entire sect was as lucky as him to be able to eat the food cooked by his uncle. This is the most delicious food in the world. Deng Chang's clearly felt that his young apprentice was in a good mood when he came back from the mountain. His whole aura was different. He didn't ask why. He just wanted his young apprentice to be happy. The little apprentice has always made him worry-free. Because she stayed in the cave for 9 days, she actually could not stay in Xuanhuan sect for a few more days. She was going to Yaoguang City. Before, I just went to see it, but now that I know Ji Zhong and the others are going to compete, my mood is different again. During these few days in Xuanhuan sect, Xianxia did not waste any time, studying alchemy with her ancestor Mu Changling and her master. Mu Changling is also a god-level alchemist and a god-level weapon refiner. After he came to the higher continent, it took him 20 years to become a god-level alchemist, but he could not refine a perfect quality elixir. Although Yan Xianglou has been promoted to a god-level alchemist, she has not yet refined a god-level elixir of perfect quality. Mainly because she has not yet tried to refine the god-level elixir after refining all the 9th-level elixirs. Although Mu Changling knew that her medical skills were very strong, he did not expect that her alchemy skills were so strong, and she was already a god-level alchemist. You must know that she is only 16 years old. Who would believe a 16-year-old god-level alchemist? After all, Mu Changling has been refining elixirs for more than 3,000 years and has a lot of experience in elixir refining. The two of them learned from each other's experiences and insights, and both gained a lot in elixir refining. Deng Chang's was a little helpless. He was obviously the master, and he came to the higher continent a few months before Xiao Luo, but his alchemy level was far behind Xiao Luo. He is now an 8th-level alchemist, but his young apprentice is actually a god-level alchemist. Although he knew that his young apprentice's alchemy talent was extremely strong, he did not expect it to be so strong. His alchemy level has been improved by 2 levels since he came to the higher continent. At this speed, he is actually a genius among geniuses, but who gave him a more talented apprentice? Deng Chang's listened humbly to the old man and the young man talking about alchemy, and learned from experience to improve his alchemy level. Chi Hao sat aside and listened at first, but because the level of alchemy they were talking about was too high to understand, it was of little help to him now, so he went back to his room to practice. Master said that his main focus should be on practicing to improve his cultivation level. After all, this is life-saving. Secondly, he should learn alchemy and medical skills. And if he wants to avenge his family's blood feud, his cultivation strength must be the most important thing. Yan Xianglou thought of the medical skills she had learned and asked Mu Changling, "Does our ancestor know Sima Qingyun, the master of alchemy?" Mu Changling heard this and said, "Xiao Luo is talking about Master Shi, right?" "Yes," Yan Xianglou responded. Mu Changling said, "The master of alchemy, Sima Qingyun, is known as Shi. His alchemy and medical skills have not been surpassed by anyone in the higher continent. Is it possible that Xiao Luo is inheriting the mantle of Master Shi?" Yan Xianglou nodded, "Exactly, my parents gave me a medical book called Shiyulu. I learned my medical skills from Shiyulu. Later I found out that it was written by Master Shiyulu." Yan Xianglou did not say that part of her medical skills were traditional Chinese medicine learned in another life. Mu Changling understood, no wonder Xiao Luo's medical skills are so advanced. It turned out that he studied under Master Shi. "Ancestor, I want to know about the life of Master Shi. If Master Shi has any descendants, go and visit him. Finally, I wish I could pay my respects to Master Shi," Yu Xianglou said matter-of-factly. "Although I have never met Master Shi, I have indeed inherited his medical skills and alchemy inheritance. Although I have not become a disciple, I am still a master and disciple, so it is appropriate to worship him." Mu Changling said regretfully, "Master Shi never married a wife, had no descendants, and had no disciples. When he reached his longevity, he recorded what he had learned in his life, which is the Shiyulu in Xiao Luo's hand. No one knows where it is, and people who are destined to get it leave messages. Until now, alchemists and doctors have always dreamed of getting the book." Yan Xianglou said disappointedly, "I don't even have a chance to pay homage to Master Shi." Mu Changling saw her annoyed look and said, "It's not like there's no chance at all." Yan Xianglou's big eyes suddenly widened and she looked at Mu Changling, "What should I say? Master Shi died at the end of his life. Although he traveled all over the mainland in his life, he always settled in Qingyun Mountain, the place where he was born. His name was also given to him by his father because of this mountain, and he finally disappeared into nothingness in Qingyun Mountain. It is said that Qingyun Mountain was at that time Master Shi's last message was heard thousands of miles around the mountain, and his successors of medical skills will come to Qingyun Mountain to pay homage to him in 10,000 years. Mu Changling looked at Yan Xianglou and was filled with emotion. He never thought that the successor of Master Shi would be his successor. Yan Xianglou's eyes suddenly lit up. Where is Qingyuan Mountain? Since Master Shi said this, it meant that he finally predicted when the successor would be found, so she must go to Qingyuan Mountain to pay homage to Master Shi. Northern Continent. Mu Changling knew that Yan Xianglou was going to Qingyuan Mountain to pay homage to Master Shi. Yan Xianglou immediately took out the map and started reading it. After all, she was in the Northern Continent now. If possible, after watching the continental competition, she would go to Qingyuan Mountain to pay homage to Master Shi. She was looking for Qingyuan Mountain in the Northern Continent on the map, but after searching for a long time, she could not find a place called Qingyuan Mountain. How not? Mu Changling said, because of Master Shi, Qingyuan Mountain is also called the Divine Doctor Mountain by the world, but the original name is rarely mentioned. Yan Xianglou's eyes immediately fell on one place when she heard this. She never forgot the name of the Divine Doctor Mountain that she saw when she was looking for it. After finding the Divine Doctor Mountain, Yan Xianglou looked at the distance between Yaoguang City and the Divine Doctor Mountain. Although they were both in the Northern Continent, the distance was not that far. Equivalent to from the southernmost point of the Northern Continent to the northernmost point of the Northern Continent. The location of Divine Doctor Mountain is at the northernmost edge of the Northern Continent. The Eastern Continent and the Northern Continent are the coldest continents in the entire higher continent, especially in the north of the Northern Continent. Snow begins to fall in October every year, and the snow does not melt until May or June of the next year. And there are some high mountains there that are covered with snow all year round. Since Master Shi is an alchemist, why doesn't he find a place to live in a spiritual mountain with a wide variety of medicinal materials? Is it just because he was born in Qingyuan Mountain and it's hard to leave his hometown? Yan Xianglou frowned, thinking about going to the Divine Doctor Mountain in the Northern Continent after watching the continental competition. Even if there was no final message from Master Shi, she would have gone there to pay her respects after learning about Divine Doctor Mountain. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 517. Until Xiaoluo's cultivation reaches the divine level, don't let anyone know that your medical master is Master Shi. Mu Changling reminded her. Well, apart from my parents, only my master and ancestors know about it, he added silently in his heart, and Xuanhuan also knew about it. Mu Changling sighed inwardly. Now Xiaoluo's medical skills have become well known in the mainland and she is known as a miracle doctor. I'm afraid people who are interested can guess that it can be hidden for a while. After her cultivation reaches the level, they dare to take advantage of her. People need to think about it. Fortunately, my old bones still have hundreds of years to live, so I can support her before she becomes stronger. Time flies very quickly, and the continental competition is about to begin in 3 days. Today is also the day when Yan Xianglou and Xuanhuan have made an appointment to go to Yaoguang City. She got up early and made a hearty breakfast. She also made a lot of snacks for her ancestors and master, and put them in food boxes that could preserve spiritual energy, so that they could take them out when they wanted to eat. After everything was ready, Master and Xiaohao came out, but the ancestor Mu Changling hadn't come out yet. Yan Xianglou and her master looked at each other and said, "Master, I'm going to see if my ancestors have developed any tricks." These days, apart from exchanging alchemy tips with Yan Xianglou, Mu Changling spends the rest of the time studying the 9-story lotus platform. In the past few days, he came out as soon as the aroma of food and snacks spread. The aroma of the food this morning had already spread, but it hadn't come out yet. Could it be that he had really researched something? Yan Xianglou knew very well that the 9-layer lotus platform could not be refined by advanced continental weapon refiners, and the materials for the refinement were not available here. Although Xuanhuan didn't tell her about the 9-layer lotus platform, she could make some guesses after her own spiritual experience. She really didn't expect what her ancestors could research. Arriving at the door of Mu Changling's room, the door was open and she walked into the main room. On the left was Mu Changling's bedroom, and on the right connected to the main room was his alchemy and weapon refining room. Because she was worried about interrupting Mu Changling, she said nothing. Seeing Mu Changling standing in front of the 9-story lotus platform with his hands behind his hands, looking like a statue, motionless. She walked over, looked at the 9-story lotus platform, and then at Mu Changling. What did she find? Mu Changling finally made some noise, and looked down at the girl beside him. Xiao Luo, this 9-story lotus platform is not something we have here. Yanxiang Luo was shocked. The ancestor was really powerful. He actually saw that the 9-story lotus platform was not from here. She asked calmly, how did the ancestors see it? Mu Changling pointed to the lowest level of the 9-story lotus platform. Look here. Yanxiang Luo walked in and looked at it carefully. Although the 9-story lotus platform was hers in the previous life, she has not recovered the memory of the previous life and does not understand the 9-story lotus platform at all. In her opinion, although there are 9 layers in the 9-layer lotus platform, the number of petals on each layer is the same, the size is the same, and the color is the same. It is so dark that there is really no difference. Ancestor, what's here? Yanxiang Luo asked shamelessly. Mu Changling knew that Yanxiang Luo was not a weapon refiner, so it was normal that he could not tell. After all, he was a god-level weapon refiner, and he had spent so much research to discover it. Mu Changling pointed to the place where the first layer of lotus petals is connected to the second layer and said, the 9-layer lotus platform is not one piece. It is installed together after refining. Huh, Yanxiang Luo opened her mouth in surprise and forgot to close it. The 9-story lotus platform is actually not one piece? No, Yanxiang Luo asked, looking at the lotus platform above. Mu Changling nodded and said with some regret in his tone, I checked carefully and found that they are not one piece. The 9-layer lotus platform is 9 separate lotus platforms installed together. Unfortunately, my level is limited. I really can't tell how they are installed together or what mechanism they have. Yanxiang Luo was very shocked. Mu Changling's alchemy level was at the divine level. He said that his level was limited and he couldn't see the mechanism inside. This shows how powerful the refining and installation techniques of this 9-layer lotus platform are. How strong was yourself in your previous life? She frowned when she thought that the 9-layer lotus platform could help her recover her mental power quickly. Could it be that because of her status as a heavenly master, she consumed her mental power too frequently, so she had this 9-layer lotus platform to help her recover her mental power? So who refined this 9-layer lotus platform for her? Mu Changling did not notice the change in Yanxiang Luo's expression, and continued, the weapon refiners in the higher mainland cannot refine weapons of such a high level. For so many days, I have not found out what the material of the weapon is. There is only one kind maybe, the 9-layer lotus platform is something from a higher level continent. Is it from Zhikongtian? Yanxiang Luo thought of the Golden Palace. Although she had traveled to Zhikongtian in her dream, she had never seen the Golden Palace in Zhikongtian. Mu Changling shook his head and said, it's impossible to be sure, Xiao Luo, in this world, there is not only the 9 heavens above the high continent we are on, but there is also a continent, but not everyone knows where it is, who live there, even the ancestors, I don't know. Yanxiang Luo looked at Mu Changling in surprise. Is there another continent between Zhizongtian and Jiadao continent? That would explain why the place where the Golden Palace she saw was neither the higher continent nor the 9th heaven. Her intuition has always been very accurate. This may be related to her possessing the power of soul control. Even if she has not awakened the power of soul control before, her premonition is still very accurate. Hence, as soon as she saw it, she knew instinctively that it was not the higher continent nor the 9 heavens. Xianxia looked at the 9-story lotus platform that was half taller than her. The higher the level of things in her previous life, the higher her status. What could be so difficult to accomplish with such a status? What are the identities of master and senior brothers? There were more and more doubts in her heart, which made her heart, which had just been relaxed today, become heavy again. Mu Changling sighed, put the 9-story lotus platform away. Yanxiangluo came back to her senses and asked, "Ancestor, you don't want to study anymore?" Originally, she planned to leave the 9-story lotus platform to her ancestors for study, but she won't be able to use it for the time being. Mu Changling shook his head, with helplessness and regret in his tone. Whether it is the refining materials, the refining techniques, or the mechanisms inside, it is not something that we, the mainland refining masters, can complete, and it will be useless to study it for any length of time. Yanxiangluo understands Mu Changling's mood. He is now over 3,000 years old. If his cultivation level cannot reach the level of going to the 9th heaven, then his lifespan will only be a few hundred years. In this continent, his weapon refining level has reached the top level. Therefore, even if the 9-layer lotus platform has been left here for hundreds of years, he will not be able to research anything. Yanxiangluo was silent for a moment and asked, "Ancestor, what is your current cultivation level?" The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 518. Yanxiangluo wanted to know the level of his ancestors' cultivation level so that he could know how far he was from reaching the 9 heavens, and whether he could find a way to help him break through this level before he fell into nothingness. Mu Changling noticed Yanxiangluo's thoughts and sighed, asked. Yanxiangluo's mind came to mind about the classification of higher continental cultivation levels. Above the level, there are lower gods, demigods, and upper gods. These can be regarded as the 3 levels of the level. After that, there is the question, and then there is the tribulation, and then the ascension. After the tribulation, you can go to the 9th heaven. It is also called the road to heaven. Whether you can ascend depends on the changes in your state of mind along the way. Is it difficult to break through the problem? Yanxiangluo asked. Mu Changling glanced at her and said, "I reached the level of Taoism 1,500 years ago, but I have not made any progress until now." The implication is that you can see for yourself whether it is difficult. Yanxiangluo was extremely shocked. It has been 1,500 years since she reached the level of asking, but she still hasn't succeeded in breaking through. Is it so difficult? Mu Changling was not surprised that she was so shocked. He once thought it was easy, but in fact it was really as difficult as climbing to the sky. Seeing that she was silent, Mu Changling continued, "After reaching the level of asking, wanting to advance further cannot be solved by simple cultivation. What is needed is a state of mind. This state of mind is different from the change in the state of mind after the previous cultivation level. As for what kind of state of mind, I still don't know." Mu Changling knew that it was too early to say this to Yanxiangluo. After all, she only had an emperor-level cultivation level and had not yet broken through to the god level. No matter how talented she was, her cultivation level could not be reached in a short time. Telling her now has no effect, but he doesn't want her to practice with doubts in her heart. If she feels that asking questions is a level that cannot be broken through at all, it will have a huge blow to her confidence in practice. But he thought too much. Yanxiangluo was not an ordinary woman. Her soul had lived in 2 worlds, not to mention a very powerful previous life. She would not be hit at all, she was just thinking in silence. She was thinking about whether there were any explanations about this in the fantasy books she had read in another life. After thinking for a long time, she discovered that there were no specific ones, but that some protagonists experienced some special crises, and then by chance, the breakthrough was successful. It has no reference value. However, she felt that since it was a state, there must be traces to follow, but her current cultivation level was too low to penetrate such a high-level state of mind. Yan Xianglou was helpless. Why did something happen to her every time she was promoted? She felt that her cultivation level was very low. It has only been more than 3 years, but she has already achieved achievements that most monks cannot achieve in their lifetime. Mu Changling saw her changing expression and said, "Don't worry about it. When you reach this level, it won't be too late to study it. Just put it away. Let's go eat. I can already smell the aroma of the food." The corner of Yan Xianglou's mouth twitched. You just smelled the aroma of the food. How devoted you were before. Glancing at the 9-story lotus platform, she raised her hand and put it away. Only she could put it away. Mu Changling couldn't move from outside to inside the house before, even if his cultivation level had reached the level of asking. In the end, it was Yan Xianglou who moved the 9-story lotus platform into the house for him to study. The two came out of the room, and Deng Changs asked, "What did you find?" Yan Xianglou said, "The ancestors discovered that each level of the 9-story lotus platform exists independently and is then assembled together. It should not be something that can be found here." Deng Changs was also surprised, and Chi Hao was even more confused. After sitting down, Mu Changling said, "I can't do any research at my level. Let's eat." Deng Changs was not a weapon refiner and had no experience in this area, so he didn't ask any more questions. After the four of them finished eating, Yan Xianglou gave the snack boxes to Mu Changling and Deng Changs. "Ancestor, Master, Xiao Hao and I are going to Yaoguang City later. We don't know when we will come back," Ruan Xianglou said. Mu Changling nodded, "Come back when you have time. You can take this." Yan Xianglou saw what Mu Changling gave her, which was a jade tablet. As soon as she took it, she felt the powerful power inside. "This contains the power of my strongest blow. It can save your life when you are in danger. Of course, the premise is that your enemy is a monk from this continent," Mu Changling explained. Yan Xianglou was a little surprised. She didn't expect that her ancestors would give her such a precious thing. You must know that Mu Changling has a cultivation level of Wendao, which is the highest level in the entire continent. There are no more than 5 people with this level of cultivation. Of course, Mu Changling is not among these 5 people. In fact, there should be people with this level of cultivation. This means that even if the opponent Yu Xianglou encounters has a level of cultivation, she will still have to escape for her life. Opportunity. "Thank you, ancestors." Yan Xianglou put it away unceremoniously. For someone like her who may encounter danger at any time, things that can save her life are the most precious. After eating and drinking tea for a while, Yan Xianglou took Chi Hao to say goodbye to his ancestor and master. Deng Changs said, "I'm going to see off Xiaoluo. Mu Changling knew that he still had something to say to Xiaoluo, so he nodded. Before leaving, Yan Xianglou said to Mu Changling, "My ancestors have nothing to do in the section. You might as well go out for a walk and stay at my place in Xiangyang City for a while to experience the fireworks in the world." Mu Changling stroked his snow-white beard and smiled, "It's time to go out for a walk. If you don't leave, I'm afraid you won't have a chance to get out." Yan Xianglou smiled, "Perhaps I will have researched a new food by then." "Girl, you are trying to seduce me." Mu Changling nodded her forehead and smiled. "If you don't tempt me, wouldn't Xiaoluo be worried that you won't be able to invite the ancestors?" Yuan Xianglou said playfully. "Okay, I must go." Mu Changling finally spoke. "Since you probably won't have the chance to make any further progress in your cultivation, then use the remaining time to enjoy the happiness of the mortal world. Go and feel the fireworks in the world." That Xiaoluo said. Farewell to Mu Changling. Yu Xianglou and her master Deng Changs took Chi Hao to the mountain gate. Out of the mountain gate, Yan Xianglou asked, "Master, why did you come back to Xianyuan sect in such a hurry when I haven't asked you yet?" Yan Xianluo had previously thought that something must have happened to the Xuanhuan sect that caused the master to find her, and she came back before she could gain experience. She didn't find anything wrong with Xuanhuan sect these days, and her ancestor and master were both normal, so she asked this question. This is also what master wants to tell you, Deng Chang said. Yan Xianluo saw her master's expression and knew that things were not simple. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 519. Deng Chang's glanced at Qihao and raised his hand to block his hearing. Qihao looked at his master with some grievances. What's the matter? He, his disciple, can't listen anymore. However, he only expressed his meaning with his eyes and did not say anything. Deng Chang's rubbed his head, then looked at Yan Xianluo with a serious expression. Deng Chang stretched out his hand and said to Yan Xianluo, "First, feel master's pulse." Yu Xianluo's eyes paused. Is there something wrong with master's health? She immediately felt her master's pulse, and her eyes suddenly changed. Master's pulse was different from that of a normal person. She felt the pulse carefully and didn't let go for a while. Master, what did you encounter after you came here? Deng Chang's nodded. You also came out of the snow field, right? Yan Xianluo nodded, thinking of the person she met in the snowy field, and said worriedly, yes, is it possible that master is being plotted by someone in there? I was not tricked inside, but I was tricked when I came out. When Deng Chang's thought about what happened that day, his eyes darkened. What's going on? Yan Xianluo asked worriedly. I was targeted in the snow field. Maybe I wasn't fooled. They made a trap for me outside. As soon as I came out, I fell into their trap. If it weren't for the master's poisonous skills, he poisoned them all. If you die, you will become a slave as soon as you arrive. Deng Chang's gritted his teeth when he said these words. Yan Xianluo listened quietly. This is what those people can do. When I came out, I smelled a special smell. I thought it was poison, so I immediately took the antidote pill. But after dealing with those people, I found that there was a force that did not belong to me running around in my body. I didn't know this force. What is the power? But the body is very repulsive and can only be suppressed when I practice. Therefore, your master practices harder than in Tianqian continent, so he can advance so quickly. Mu Changling and Yuan Xianluo are both at saint level now, but his cultivation level is 2 levels higher than that of Yan Xianluo. Yuan Xianluo is at saint level 5, and he is at saint level 7. But there are also disadvantages, right? Yan Xianluo asked clearly. Yes, the higher my cultivation level, the stronger the power. Deng Chang's tone was difficult to calm down. Yan Xianluo's heart was very uneasy. Master, do you know what kind of power this is? Actually, she knew what the power was in her master's body when she checked his pulse, but she didn't dare to say it out. I didn't know it at first, but when I met my ancestor showed it to me and told me that it was demonic energy. Deng Chang's thought for a while and finally said it. You should know that if a monk has demonic energy in his body, then in the eyes of those righteous people, you will not be a good person and will be called demon. Yan Xianluo's apricot eyes flashed, and the master knew that the energy in his body was evil. Deng Chang's continued, after I got your news that time, I rushed to Xiangyang city, but after I arrived at Xiangyang city, the demonic energy had a rising momentum. I couldn't suppress it myself. If you haven't come out of seclusion, master can't. When you came out of seclusion, you could only leave a letter and rush back to Xuanhuan section. My ancestors helped me suppress it. Ancestors have a way to help you suppress the evil spirit. Yan Xianluo was a little curious. Deng Chang's nodded, it's not a solution, it's just to suppress it with strength. Yan Xianluo frowned, This is not a solution. Didn't the ancestors say there is any solution? Deng Chang's sighed. There is a way, but it requires a trip to the demon world, but the master's current cultivation level can only go to the demon world. To die. Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up. It would be great if she could find a way. She knew people in the demon world. Her sworn brother Ge Tianjun was from the demon world. Is there any way in Maja to solve the demonic aura on Master's body? Yan Xiangluo asked. There is a magic absorbing bead in the demon world. The magic absorbing bead can out the demonic energy from my body. However, the magic absorbing bead has not appeared in the world for a long time. I don't know if it is still in the demon clan, Deng Chang said in a helpless tone. Yan Xiangluo was shocked. How could it be such a coincidence? She had just obtained the magic beads on the way here, and now the master actually needed the magic beads to out the demonic energy. How long can master survive? Yan Xiangluo asked. She has magic beads, but she cannot use them directly for her master. Although Deng Chang's is her master and has been protecting her like a father since she became her master, she has to be careful when thinking about her identity in her previous life. She does not dare to be careless even with people she is close to. It's not that she doesn't believe in Deng Chang's, it's that she doesn't believe in the world. If she's not careful, a trap can kill her. Not to mention how much she cherishes her life, just to complete the things that she and her master and brother failed to accomplish in the previous life, maybe to save her life. After all, she is the only one who still has life. Deng Chang smiled. Don't worry, my ancestors can help me suppress it before master breaks through to the level. It's so easy to break through at the level. Yan Xiangluo finally understood why his master, who was unwilling to be bound, stayed in Xuanhuan sect and refused to leave. He could not leave. Master, don't worry too much. I'll find a way to solve this problem. It's not just about sucking magic beads to out the demonic energy from your body as long as the time is relaxed. Yan Xiangluo felt relieved. The master is now at the emperor level. It will take a long time to break through to the level, so she still has time to think of a solution. The magic absorbing beads cannot be used just like this. She also wants to see if there are other ways to get the demonic energy out of the master's body. Deng Chang's wanted to send her down the mountain. He also wanted to explain to her the reason why he went to Xiangyang city without waiting for her to leave the customs. It was not because he wanted to worry her. Don't worry, Xiao Luo, there will always be a solution, Deng Chang said with a smile. Well, there must be a way to solve it. If it doesn't work, I will go to the devil world for a trip, Yu Xiangluo also said with a smile. Deng Chang said disapprovingly, no, our ancestors have to keep a low profile when going to the demon world. With your cultivation level, you still dare to go to the demon world. Practice hard to improve your cultivation. Don't think too much. Our ancestors are already asking about the magic beads. Well, don't worry, master, I won't act rashly, Yan Xiangluo responded, but she was muttering in her heart. There was no point in asking. She already had the magic absorbing bead in her hand, and no matter how well connected she was, she couldn't find out. She should think about how to out the demonic energy from her master's body without revealing that she has a magic absorbing bead. She doesn't want her master to continue like this. Master is a person who loves freedom, and it would be very troublesome for him to be trapped in Xuanhuan sect all the time. After all, we have all come to the higher continent, but we can't go out for a walk. Thinking of this, Master took a big risk when he went to Xiangyang city to see him last time. This shows how important he is to Master. With this comparison, am I too selfish? I felt in my heart that I felt a little sorry for Master. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 520. Chapter 520. A lot of ambition. Deng Chang's raised his hand and released the power that blocked Chi Hao's sense of hearing. Chi Hao could hear the sound again. He took a long breath, and the feeling of not being able to hear anything was terrible. The sense of hearing can be sealed, and other senses can also be sealed, and the sealed ones can be unsealed. If something goes wrong, there is nothing you can do. He needs to take good care of his ears and eyes, and by the way, his mouth. Without a sense of taste, how will he be able to eat delicious food then? Deng Chang sent his master and apprentice out of the barrier at the foot of the Xianxia sect mountain. Yan Xiangluo didn't let him send them away again, but she was determined to quickly find a way to solve the problem of the demonic energy in the master's body. After saying goodbye to Deng Chang's, Yan Xiangluo used the teleportation pattern to take Qihao directly to Yaoguang City. After a trip, she found that she seemed to have more things to do. Xianxia sect is not far from Yaoguang City, and it can be reached in just a moment with a teleportation pattern. Qihao felt a white light flashing in front of his eyes and instinctively closed his eyes. He swayed, and then the white light disappeared. When he opened his eyes again, he saw them standing in the wild. In front of them was a wide road stretching into the distance. From the road, you can see endless fields, scattered trees growing on both sides of the road, and continuous mountains at the end of the eye. Qihao asked doubtfully, "Master, aren't we going to Yaoguang City? Where is the city?" Yan Xiangluo smiled and patted his shoulder, "Turn around and look." Qihao turned around and saw that there was a large city not far behind him. They were 3 or 4 miles away from the city. Flying spiritual beasts carried people in the sky, carriages ran on the ground, and people walked in the air, using various methods to get outside and into the city. He scratched his head in embarrassment and said, "You're standing on the wrong side." When using the teleportation Xuanhuan, Yan Xiangluo used the Xuanhuan with her right hand and held Qihao with her left hand. During the teleportation, Qihao's body swayed and he was pulled left and right by her for a few times. After he stopped, he stood face to face with her. So once he teleported to the place, the direction he saw was exactly opposite to what Yan Xiangluo saw. "Let's go into the city and have a look," Yan Xiangluo said to Qihao as he looked at the people entering Yaoguang City. Qihao said happily, "Master, many people are heading into the city. They should all be here to participate in or watch the continental competition," Yan Xiangluo explained as she looked at the people who came through various channels. Qihao was startled when he saw a person suddenly appearing next to him. Then he came back to his senses and knew that this person should also use the teleportation pattern. It seems that people who use the teleportation pattern can only teleport to the place where they appear. Qihao patted his heart and said, "Master, let's go into the city quickly. There are so many people, can we find a place to live?" Qihao was a little worried that they would have no place to stay after entering the city. "It's okay, didn't your brother Xianxian come first?" Yan Xiangluo teased him. Qihao's eyes suddenly lit up, "Yes, brother Xianxian is so capable, he will definitely find a place to live." Yan Xiangluo shook her head, she was still a child after all. However, she was a little surprised that Xianxian was so powerful in Qihao's heart. She thought that Qihao always quarreled with Xianxian because he didn't think he was very powerful. After all, Xianxian was the one who seemed to get along the best among Changfeng and Jin Yutang. Yu Xiangluo pulled Qihao up into the air and flew towards the city gate. Although it is only 3 or 4 miles away, it will take a lot of time to walk there, so don't waste your time. Qihao was very excited. His master was taking him to fly. This is what it feels like to fly in the air. He should practice diligently and reach the king level as soon as possible, so that he can fly in the air. Soon they arrived in front of the city gate. Yan Xiangluo and Qihao landed on the ground. The two took out their identity cards and entered the city smoothly. As soon as the two entered the city, Qihao obtained the master's permission and took out the sound transmission stone to contact Xianxian. "Brother Xianxian, master, and I have arrived at Yaoguang City. Where are you?" Soon Xianxian responded, "Where are you? I'll pick you up." Just entered the city gate, Qihao replied. Okay, you walk along the main street. There is a Li's tea house on the right. You can rest there and I will pick you up right away. Xian immediately told them a place to wait for him. Yuan Xianglou didn't participate in anything, just waiting for Qihao to find the Li family tea house, and then the two of them went in. Qihao ordered a pot of tea, which was Ling cha. He knew that the master never drank ordinary tea. Then he sat at the table by the window and drank tea while waiting. This is also an opportunity to train Qihao. Qihao stared at the road with big eyes, fearing that he would miss Xian. After drinking 2 cups of tea, Qihao immediately shouted excitedly, "Brother Xian is here." Of course, Yan Xianglou also saw Xian coming in a hurry. No wonder he asked them to rest in the tea house. It would take time to get here. Xian heard Qihao's voice, came in and sat down next to him, and played something on his forehead. "Brother Xian, it's Uncle Xian. It's Brother Xian." The two started bickering again. Yan Xianglou was speechless. She sat drinking tea and watched the two bickering until she got tired and asked, "Where do you live?" Xian immediately said, "We came relatively late. There were no rooms in the inn. Even if there was no one, we had reserved them in advance, so we rented a courtyard. The smaller courtyards were all rented. We rented the yard is relatively large and can accommodate everyone." Yan Xianglou understood that it must be because the rent of the courtyard was too high to rent, so they were able to rent it. Look at the people outside. Even in the big yard, there is probably no one left idle now. Let's go, I've got the room cleaned up, Xian said to the two of them. Qihao asked excitedly as he walked. He was curious about too many things, just like a child. There were many people on the street. When they entered the city, many people came. Yaoguang City now has the most people in the entire continent. What will they do when so many people have no place to live? Qihao asked Xian. If you can't, just live outside. Every city that holds the Continental Hegemony Tournament is like this, especially the Cultivation Hegemony Tournament. Not only are there many people participating, but there are also many people coming to see it. Xian took the trouble to tell Qihao explain. I will also participate in the continental competition in the future and win first place. Qihao thought for a while and said. Xian smiled and asked, "Why do you want to win first place?" Qihao rolled his eyes at him, "You can't embarrass master." Xian smiled even more when she saw his arrogant look. The continental competition is divided into 3 types: cultivation, weapon refining, and alchemy. Which continental competition do you want to participate in? Qihao's big eyes suddenly flashed. All those who make alchemy and practice cultivation will participate. You are not a big boy, but your ambition is not small. Xian did not expect that Qihao actually wanted to participate in the competition between the 2 continents. I want everyone in the entire continent to know that I am Master's disciple, Qihao said with his chest raised. End of this chapter.